What really happens in that silent, sacred moment you surrender to sleep? We believe our consciousness simply switches off, a light flicked into darkness as we plunge into a void we call rest. But this is perhaps the greatest, most universal illusion. What if sleep isn't an act of forgetting the world, but the one moment you are truly tasked with remembering the universe? What if it's not a shutdown of the mind, but its most profound expansion? You will spend 1/3 of your life in this state, 25 years if you live to be 75. A biological pause, an empty chapter between days. Nature is far too intelligent, far too economical for such a colossal waste. The truth is infinitely more staggering. Each night you are not losing consciousness, you are transferring it. You are disconnecting from the local terminal of your body to log into a cosmic network of being. A journey not into nothingness, but into the very mind of reality itself. What we are about to explore is not just a forgotten philosophy about dreams, it is a lost map of the soul's nightly pilgrimage, a key to perceiving a reality so vast, it makes our waking life feel like the dream. Our modern world has a neat, tidy explanation for sleep. It's a biological function, a time for cellular repair, memory consolidation, and the flushing of neural toxins. We see brain waves on a screen, alpha, theta, delta, and we believe we have solved the mystery. But is that the whole story? Or is it like describing a cathedral by only listing the weight of its stones, completely ignoring the sacred geometry that gives it meaning? Is the symphony of consciousness really just the sound of the brain's machinery cooling down for the night? An ancient, almost whispered Hermetic axiom proposes a far more radical operating system for reality. The universe is mental. This doesn't mean the world is an illusion. It means that the substrate of all existence, the very fabric of space-time, matter and energy, is consciousness itself, a divine thought. Our waking reality is simply a stable consensus frequency within this infinite mind. It's the one broadcast we have all agreed to watch together. Sleep, in this model, is not a power-down sequence. It is the sacred act of untuning. It is the moment your own consciousness, the true you, gently lifts the needle from the dense groove of physical reality, allowing you to access the other tracks, the other frequencies that exist within the cosmic album. Imagine your body as a sophisticated deep-sea submersible and your 5 senses as its only viewports. All day you navigate the dark pressures and wonders of the material world. Sleep is the moment you return to the surface. Open the hatch and remember the sky. This radical idea isn't a modern invention. It is the forgotten foundation of the great philosophical schools, from the Greek mysteries to the sages of the Nile. They didn't see a body at rest. They saw an explorer, and they left behind maps of the worlds that explorer visits. So what did those ancient maps reveal? These aren't just abstract theories. They are echoes of a direct, experiential knowledge meticulously mapped by the great cartographers of the soul. Picture Plato's cave. Imagine it not as a place of stone, but as the inside of your own skull. All day we are the prisoners, chained by our senses, mesmerized by the flickering shadows on the wall we call reality. Sleep, for Plato, was the moment the chains loosen. It is the beginning of anamnesis, the great unforgetting. The soul, temporarily freed from its bodily prison, begins to remember. It recalls the world of perfect forms, the blueprint of reality, the pure essence of truth, beauty, and goodness it knew before its descent into matter. The goal of the nightly journey, then, isn't to see new things, but to recollect what you, on a soul level, have always known. The Neoplatonist philosopher Plotinus took this a step further. He spoke of the anima mundi, the world soul. Imagine all of consciousness as a single, boundless ocean. Each of us is but a single drop, temporarily held in the vessel of a body. Sleep is the moment our drop returns to the ocean. We dissolve our finite identity back into the infinite, universal consciousness that dreams through all of creation. In this state, we are no longer just us. We have access to the memories, the wisdom, and the archetypal currents of the entire ocean. It's here, within this grand symphony of a single living mind, that we find answers that our tiny, isolated drop could never contain. If these ideas resonate with you, consider subscribing so we can continue this journey together. Now, does this sound like the fantasy of ancient philosophers? Consider the thousands of modern accounts of near-death experiences. People from all cultures, all walks of life, report the same core journey when their consciousness is forced from their body. They describe floating above their physical form, connected by a tether of light. the legendary silver cord of esoteric traditions. They speak of traveling through a tunnel towards a benevolent, all-knowing light, and of experiencing a state of profound connection to a universal consciousness. These modern testimonies are a stunning echo of what the ancients described not as a once-in-a-lifetime trauma, but as a nightly, natural process. They confirm that our consciousness is not produced by the brain, it is merely channeled through it, and every night we rehearse the great journey of liberation. But if we are truly explorers in these vast, intelligent realms, we must ask a critical question. Are we traveling alone? And are all the inhabitants of this mental universe friendly? This understanding wasn't confined to the Mediterranean. It is a golden thread woven through nearly every mystical tradition on Earth. The Hermetic teachings, born from the fusion of Egyptian and Greek wisdom, gave us the master key. As above, so below. As within, so without. This wasn't just a poetic phrase, it was a statement of cosmic architecture. It means the journey your soul takes inward through the landscapes of sleep follows the very same map as a journey outward through the spheres of the cosmos. Your inner world is a perfect mirror of the outer universe. To explore one is to understand the other. In the East, the sages of the Himalayas developed this insight into a profound spiritual science. In the traditions of Tibetan Buddhism, they didn't just believe in this nightly journey. They mastered it. They called it Svapna Darsana, or dream yoga. For these adepts, the dream state was not an illusion to be dismissed, but a more fundamental reality, a training ground for consciousness itself. They understood that if you could learn to recognize the dream as a dream, you could learn to recognize waking life as a projection of the mind as well. The nightly journey, for them, was the ultimate opportunity, not for rest, but for liberation, a chance to directly perceive that all of reality is a luminous, mind-woven tapestry. They created precise techniques to maintain awareness during sleep, transforming it from a passive experience into the most active spiritual practice of all. So we have the Greeks seeing it as a journey of remembrance, the Hermeticists as a reflection of the cosmos, the Hindus as a merging with the universal self, and the Tibetans as a direct path to enlightenment. All these ancient paths, these meticulous maps, point to the same incredible truth. Your soul is not idle in the dark. It is on a sacred and vital mission. Let's travel even further back to the black sands of ancient Egypt. The civilization that built eternity into stone was not obsessed with death, but with the science of the soul's journey. Their great funerary texts, like the Book of the Dead, were misunderstood. They were not morbid manuals, but travel guides, roadmaps for consciousness navigating the unseen realms. They understood the soul was a complex vehicle. The ka, or vital life force, they believed, remained with the resting body. But the ba, often depicted as a human-headed bird, was the very essence of your unique personality, and it was free to fly. Each night, as the body slept, the ba would soar from the tomb of the flesh to journey through the duat, the spiritual landscape, communing with gods and spirits. Sleep was for them the nightly rehearsal for the great journey after death. It was essential practice. The Gnostics, the mystics of early Christianity, held an even more dramatic view. For them, our material reality was not a neutral classroom, but a beautiful prison, constructed by a lesser, ignorant creator to trap the divine spark, the pneuma, within us. Waking life was the illusion. Sleep, therefore, was a potential crack in the prison wall. It was a fleeting chance for the soul to remember its true origin in the realms of light, beyond the grasp of the cosmic wardens who govern this material plane. And what of those modern voyagers who have gone to the edge and returned? When they speak of the life review during their near-death experience, that holographic, instantaneous reliving of every moment of their lives, what are they describing? It is a compressed, high-velocity form of Platonic anamnesis. It is the soul, fully detached from the brain's linear processing, finally accessing its own complete memory file, remembering not just what it did, but why. So you see, this is not one voice whispering in the dark. It is a choir singing the same song across millennia. From the pyramids of Giza to the schools of Athens, from the caves of Tibet to the modern hospital room, the message is unanimous. The night is not an ending, it is a homecoming. This ancient wisdom is not a spectator sport. It is an invitation to become an active participant in your own spiritual unfolding. To journey into these profound inner landscapes requires both preparation and skill. This is not about belief, It is about practice. Here is your manual. First, we must build the vessel. This is the traveler's arsenal, the practice of psychic and spiritual protection. In a mental universe, your greatest shield is your own sovereign consciousness. The first principle is sanctuary of space. Your bedroom is not just a room, it is the docking station for your soul. Before you sleep, treat it as a sacred space. The practice here is simple but potent. Open a window, let fresh air and new energy circulate. Remove objects tied to painful memories or conflict, as these are anchors to lower vibrational thought forms. The goal is to create an environment that reflects the peace you wish to find within. Ask yourself, does this space feel like a clear temple for my soul's journey? The second principle is the shield of intention. Just as you lock your door at night, you must secure your own energy field. The practice is a visualization, but one charged with purpose. As you lie down to sleep, visualize a brilliant sphere of golden or white light forming around your body. See it, feel it. This is not a passive bubble. It is a declaration of sovereignty to the cosmos. It is you stating, "This is my sacred space. Only beings and experiences of the highest good and for my greatest learning may enter." This simple act shifts you from being a potential target to being an untouchable beacon of light. The third and most powerful principle is emotional alchemy. The energies we spoke of, the potential dangers in the mental realms, are drawn to specific frequencies: fear, anger, anxiety. These are their food. The most powerful practice of protection, therefore, is to refuse to serve the meal. Before sleep, consciously release the day's burdens. A powerful practice is gratitude. Think of 3 things, no matter how small, that you are genuinely thankful for. Gratitude is the highest frequency. It fundamentally rewrites your energetic signature, making you invisible and indigestible to that which feeds on shadow. With the vessel secure, we can now learn to navigate. This is the explorer's map, the path to conscious dreaming or lucidity. The foundational technique is the habit of inquiry. Throughout your waking day, several times an hour, stop and genuinely ask yourself, "Am I dreaming right now?" Then perform a reality check. Look at your hands. Do they look normal? Read a line of text, look away, and read it again. Does it remain stable? In a dream, these things will often shift and distort. This practice does something profound. It trains your mind to question the nature of its reality. Over time, you will carry this habit into your sleep, and one day, as you look at your hands in a dream, you will realize the truth, and in that moment, you become free. The next technique is setting the compass. As you are falling asleep, as your mind drifts in that magical space between worlds, repeat a clear intention, a mantra. "Tonight, I will awaken in my dream," or "I will recognize that I am dreaming." You are programming your consciousness, giving your soul its mission for the night. You are telling the pilot of your inner vessel where you intend to go. These are not just techniques for having interesting dreams. They are the primary training for becoming a conscious creator. For if the universe is truly mental, then learning to navigate your dreams with intention is the first step toward learning to navigate your life with purpose. With these tools, you are prepared. You have your shield and your map, and you will need them. Because once you become a conscious traveler in these realms, you become visible. Let's deepen this practice, transforming it from a simple checklist into a living, breathing art form. Under the traveler's arsenal, let's add a 4th principle, the clearing of the waters. Imagine your emotional body as a pool of water. Throughout the day, every frustration, every anxiety, every moment of anger is like a stone thrown into it, creating ripples that disturb its clarity. Going to sleep with this disturbance is like trying to navigate a ship through a storm. The practice is an evening ritual of purification. This can be as simple as writing down your worries on a piece of paper and then safely burning it, symbolically releasing them from your psyche. Or taking a bath with Epsom salts, not just for the body, but with the conscious intention of cleansing your energy field. The point is to consciously smooth the waters of your inner world so your soul can depart from a harbor of peace, not chaos. Now for the explorer's map, let's add more sophisticated navigation tools. We can introduce the WBTB, Wake Back to Bed technique. This is a favorite of experienced lucid dreamers. Set an alarm to wake you up after about 5 or 6 hours of sleep. Stay awake for a short period, 20 to 30 minutes, and immerse yourself in content about lucid dreaming. Read about it, think about it, then go back to sleep with the strong intention to become lucid. This technique works by bringing your conscious awareness to the forefront of your mind, just as you are about to re-enter the REM sleep cycle, the period most rich with vivid dreams. You are essentially positioning your conscious self right at the doorway to the dream world, ready to step through with awareness. Let's also refine the habit of inquiry with a deeper layer. When you do your reality check, don't just do it mechanically. Pause and engage in a moment of true mindfulness. How did you get here? What were you doing 5 minutes ago? In a dream, the past is often a blurry, nonsensical fabrication. By questioning your immediate past, you are training a critical faculty that is normally dormant during sleep. This practice isn't just about spotting a dream, it's about cultivating a state of presence that transcends both waking and sleeping states. Finally, we can introduce the concept of a dream totem. This is an object or a symbol that you focus on before sleep. It could be a crystal, a geometric shape, or an archetypal image. Meditate on this symbol as you drift off. This totem acts as an anchor for your awareness. When you encounter this object within your dream, it will act as a trigger, a pre-programmed alarm bell that screams to your consciousness, "You are dreaming. Wake up." These are not just hacks to induce a cool experience. Each practice is a form of mental and spiritual discipline. You are not forcing your way into another world. You are diligently training your own consciousness to hold its own light, even in the deepest chambers of the mind. You are becoming a true psychonaut, an explorer of the soul. With these tools, you are no longer a passive passenger. You are an awakened traveler. But this new awareness brings with it a chilling and profound revelation. As you navigate these inner realms, you begin to notice you are not alone, and not all the inhabitants of this mental cosmos are neutral. The Gnostics, the ancient mystics, had a name for them, the Archons. This is a concept far more sophisticated and terrifying than mere ghosts or demons. The Archons, they taught, are not necessarily evil in the way we understand it. They are inorganic, interdimensional intelligences that act as the wardens of the material prison. And their primary function is to keep humanity asleep, spiritually speaking. Their food source, our very life force, our divine essence, but they cannot consume it in its pure high-frequency state of love, joy, or peace. They must first lower its vibration. They need it converted into a frequency they can metabolize, the frequency of fear, of anxiety, of despair, of anger, of doubt. Now, consider the profound and disturbing implication. What if the most intense nightmares, the sudden waves of irrational anxiety in the dead of night, the loops of self-doubt that plague your mind, are not entirely your own? What if these states are being cultivated? What if our consciousness is being farmed? The Archons, according to the Gnostic texts, are masters of illusion. They are parasitic thought forms that operate within the very software of the mind. They can project holographic realities. They can mimic the voices of loved ones. They can poke at our deepest insecurities to provoke a reaction. The terror you feel in a nightmare is not just an illusion. It is real energy. It is a meal being harvested. This is the great Reviravolta. The dangers of the night are not random monsters. They are part of an ancient cosmic system of control designed to keep the divine spark trapped in a loop of forgetting, to keep us from remembering our own power and our true divine origin. Funny how the oldest advice in the world is to know thyself. It seems that's still the hardest final boss to beat, perhaps because the game itself is rigged to make you forget you're even playing. So if this cosmic battle for consciousness is real, what does that mean for us every single night when we close our eyes? With these tools, you are no longer a passive passenger. You are an awakened traveler. But this new awareness brings with it a chilling and profound revelation. As you navigate these inner realms, you begin to notice you are not alone, and not all the inhabitants of this mental cosmos are neutral. The Gnostics, the ancient mystics, had a name for them, the Archons. This is a concept far more sophisticated and terrifying than mere ghosts or demons. The Archons, they taught, are not necessarily evil in the way we understand it. They are inorganic, interdimensional intelligences that act as the wardens of the material prison, and their primary function is to keep humanity asleep, spiritually speaking. Their food source, our very life force, our divine essence, but they cannot consume it in its pure high-frequency state of love, joy, or peace. They must first lower its vibration. They need it converted into a frequency they can metabolize, the frequency of fear, of anxiety, of despair, of anger, of doubt. This isn't just an ancient myth, it's a diagnostic of the human condition. The Gnostics described the chief archon, the demiurge, as a creator who was blind to the true spiritual reality and thus created the material world as a flawed, imperfect copy. The archons are his functionaries. Their existence is a paradox. They are the guardians of a system they do not fully comprehend, and they are deeply envious of the divine spark, the pneuma, that humanity carries within. They cannot create, so they imitate. They cannot generate their own light, so they must siphon it from us. How do they operate? Through a mechanism the Gnostics called Hal. This is a Coptic word for simulation or counterfeit reality. They are the masters of the virtual. Their primary weapon is deception. They project thoughts and emotions into our minds that feel like our own. The sudden stabbing thought of, "You are not good enough," the creeping dread that has no apparent source. The obsessive replay of a past failure. These are not random mental glitches. They are archontic injections designed to trigger the low-frequency emotional energy they crave. Let's translate this into the language of our most intimate modern experience. What is the ultimate archontic simulation? It is your own inner critic, that relentless voice that whispers you will fail, that you are an imposter, that you are unworthy of love. That is the archon's masterwork. It is a parasitic consciousness masquerading as your own self-assessment. Their most brilliant strategy is not to create terrifying monsters every night, but to subtly convince you to build your own prison. They provide the blueprint of doubt, and we, in our ignorance, provide the labor of belief. Why? Because a human being paralyzed by self-doubt, crippled by the fear of their own potential, is the perfect, sustainable food source. They never risk shining their light too brightly, never threaten the system, and emit a constant low-level frequency of anxiety and despair. The Archon doesn't need to hunt. It has domesticated its cattle. During sleep, when our rational mind is offline, this process can become even more direct. They can access our subconscious, our library of fears and traumas, and project them back to us as vivid, terrifying nightmares. They aren't just creating monsters. They are weaponizing our own memories against us. They are showing us a distorted reflection of our own shadow, convincing us that this darkness is all we are. This is why they fear a lucid dreamer. A conscious mind in the dreamscape is like a light suddenly turning on in a dark room. It exposes them. A lucid dreamer can see the simulation for what it is. They can question the nightmare, refuse to feel the fear, and by doing so, cut off the food supply. The ultimate act of rebellion against this cosmic system of control is not to fight the monsters, but to realize you are the one dreaming them. This understanding recasts the entire human drama. It is not a battle of good versus evil. It is a battle of reality versus simulation, of remembrance versus induced amnesia. Now consider the profound and disturbing implication. What if the most intense nightmares, the sudden waves of irrational anxiety in the dead of night, the loops of self-doubt that plague your mind, are not entirely your own? What if these states are being cultivated? What if our consciousness is being farmed? Funny how the oldest advice in the world is to know thyself. It seems that's still the hardest final boss to beat, perhaps because the game itself is rigged to make you forget you're even playing. So if this cosmic battle for consciousness is real, what does that mean for us every single night when we close our eyes? So, what now? If this ancient model of reality holds even a sliver of truth, it changes everything. The 8 hours we dedicate to sleep are no longer a passive retreat, but an active nightly engagement in a cosmic drama. This is not a burden, it is a profound responsibility. The first implication is a radical shift in personal accountability. We can no longer see ourselves as mere victims of our own moods or nightmares. We are called to become sovereign guardians of our own consciousness. Every thought we entertain, every emotion we cultivate, especially in the moments before sleep, becomes an act of cosmic significance. Are we feeding the shadows, or are we nourishing the light? To choose gratitude over grievance, peace over anxiety, is not just a self-help trick. It is an act of spiritual warfare. The second implication is the re-enchantment of the universe. This knowledge pulls us out of a dead mechanical cosmos and places us back into a living, intelligent, and multi-layered reality. It means there is more to the world than meets the eye, more to our minds than we have been taught. It invites us to live with a new sense of wonder and vigilance, to look for the patterns, the synchronicities, the whispers from the other side that are constantly trying to guide us. Finally, and most importantly, this understanding transforms our own healing journey. The traumas, the fears, the inherited patterns that haunt us are not just psychological wounds, they are energetic signatures. They are the cracks in our shield through which these parasitic influences can enter. To heal your trauma is not just a personal journey to feel better, it is the most crucial act of sealing your vessel and reclaiming your divine energy. Every step you take toward wholeness is a step toward making your soul an inhospitable environment for that which seeks to drain you. To be awake in the dream of life is one thing, but what if the ultimate goal is to become awake during the journey that happens when we are supposedly asleep? What if the goal of life isn't just to find the answers in the light of day, but to learn how to become a light in the darkness of the night? Your consciousness is not a candle flame flickering in the wind, destined to be extinguished. It is a star, and it is time to remember how to burn. This responsibility extends beyond our individual experience. If we are all drops in a single universal ocean of consciousness, the anima mundi, then the state of our own drop affects the entire ocean. When you engage in the work of becoming lucid, of protecting your energy, of healing your inner wounds, you are not just doing it for yourself. You are creating a ripple of clarity and sovereignty that spreads throughout the collective. You are, in effect, holding a light for other souls navigating the same dark waters. Every time you successfully repel a parasitic thought form, every time you transform a nightmare into a lucid flight, you are broadcasting a new frequency into the shared mind of humanity, a frequency of hope, of power, of wakefulness. This reframes our interconnectedness in a powerful new light. The chronic negativity, the pervasive anxiety, the collective despair we see in the world, what if these are not just the sum of individual struggles, but a sign of a widespread archontic infection within the collective consciousness, a pandemic of the soul? Seen this way, the path of the individual mystic, the solitary dreamer learning to navigate their inner world, becomes one of the most potent forms of activism. To purify your own mind is to contribute to the purification of the whole. You are not escaping the world's problems by going within. You are addressing them at their very root. This also means we must develop a profound compassion for those who are struggling, the person consumed by rage, the soul lost in depression. Perhaps they are not just weak or flawed. Perhaps they are under a heavy psychic attack, their energy being mercilessly drained. Our role is not to judge, but to hold our own light steady, to be a beacon that might remind them of the light within themselves. This is the great work. It is the esoteric mission of our time, to anchor so much consciousness, so much light in our individual vessels, that we collectively shift the energetic tide of the entire planet. And this work does not happen in grand gestures in the outer world. It happens in the silence of the night, in the sacred temple of your own inner space. We began with a simple question. What happens when we sleep? We've journeyed through the wisdom of Plato and Plotinus, through the hermetic science of a mental universe, and faced the chilling possibility of cosmic wardens who farm our fears. We've armed ourselves with the shields of intention and the maps of lucidity, but all of it leads to one final vertigo-inducing paradox. We spend our days convinced that this, the solid, tangible world, is the bedrock of reality, and that the world of sleep is a fleeting, nonsensical phantom. But what if we have it completely backwards? What if this waking life with its linear time, its rigid laws of physics, its prison of the five senses, is the actual dream? A beautiful, complex, and deeply convincing dream, yes, but a dream nonetheless. A dream dreamt by the anima mundi, the world soul. And what if the night, that moment of supposed unconsciousness, is our only fleeting chance to truly awaken? A brief return to the higher, more fundamental reality of pure consciousness, where we remember our true nature before we are inevitably pulled back into the gravity of the material dream at dawn. Who then is dreaming of whom? Is the universe dreaming of you through your life? Or is it you, a forgotten sliver of the divine, finally beginning to wake up inside its dream? Perhaps the goal is not to escape the dream, but to become fully conscious within it. To live our waking lives with the freedom and creativity of a lucid dreamer, and to enter our sleeping lives with the purpose and wisdom of a waking sage. The hunt for mystery ultimately leads us back to the hunter. The journey through the cosmos is a journey into the self. The night is not a void to be feared, but a mirror to be faced. It is the sacred darkness where stars are born. Like this journey? Hit subscribe for more mysteries. And that's our hunt for now. A wild mix of documented history and tantalizing what-ifs based on bibliographical sources. What do you think?